I strongly advise my friends not to buy this kind of domestic car, the quality is just too poor. Both new and used models are problematic. The car we worked on today was bought by the owner for over 3,000 yuan as a second-hand vehicle. It looked very new, and they thought they got a great deal, but the quality is actually quite concerning. Today, we're going to give everyone an on-the-spot rundown of which domestic cars are absolutely not worth buying. Let's take a look first. The biggest concerns people have about domestic cars are loose chassis issues and chassis rust. In terms of appearance, this car looks very luxurious and is well cleaned and maintained. Car enthusiasts, take a look. Does anyone recognize which domestic car brand this logo belongs to? Feel free to type it in the chat. Let's show everyone, when it comes to domestic cars, what people fear most are the hidden, invisible issues with the chassis. First, let's take a look at its entire rear suspension. It's a standard shock absorber structure. The chassis is particularly low, offering no riding comfort, and most importantly, there's the big worry of chassis rust in domestic cars. This type of car is definitely one that will develop rust among the various domestic models. You can take a look. This is the position of the rear shock absorber on the chassis, and it's all rusted here. Moving forward, you'll see this big component. It's the fuel tank. This entire area is rusted inside, and you can see it very clearly from here. Each side of the car's underbody is fully rusted. Some people might wonder if this rust was caused intentionally. Or maybe the chassis frequently came into contact with water, causing it to rust? No, this kind of rust actually develops from the inside out. Over time, if you poke it with a screwdriver, it'll go right through. So, from the underside, the chassis hasn't been fully painted for rust protection, nor has cavity wax been applied. That's why it rusts from the inside out, and eventually, the rusted metal chassis can be punctured with a single poke. This type of rusting is the most common issue among second and third-tier domestic car brands. Next, let's move toward the front of the car and look at this area. In domestic cars, this part also lacks armor plating. It's just a plain sheet of metal. The surface treatment is decent, with no rust, but it lacks any soundproofing. Let's keep going. The owner just bought this car and has been driving it for less than a month, and now this part needs repair. His transmission is already damaged. When shifting gears, it makes a strange rattling noise. Start the engine, shift gears. The transmission is definitely broken. In a bit, we'll take it apart for inspection. Alright, next, let's take a look at this engine. This engine has already been in use for many years now. This is a 1.3-liter engine that can produce up to 65 kilowatts of power. Overall, it's not very large, but it's enough to get the car going. Let's listen to the sound. So, in the domestic car market, it's best not to buy from these smaller or off-brand manufacturers. I recommend that if you are considering buying a domestic car, they should definitely choose manufacturers with in-house R&D capabilities, such as Chery, Geely, BYD, Changan, Great Wall Motors, and Trumpchi. Their engines, transmissions, and chassis are more stable and reliable. These car companies invest more in their own R&D, so even older models have better stability and durability than some new cars from smaller off-brand manufacturers. So, even if you drive a car from these manufacturers for many years, it will still have very few issues. If you think there are certain domestic cars that aren't worth buying, feel free to share in the comments. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you all for your support. Goodbye.